Hi, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm very excited to our conversation today because it's a topic that I don't see a lot of people talking about, and I'm always trying to find new topics to talk about. And I want to start with a little introduction of yourself. So speak, say who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So, hi, my name is Jennifer Lau, and I am a UX UI designer. I own my own freelancing gig called No Boundaries Design LLC. So that's what I do business under. And pretty much, I what I do for clients is if they have a community or some sort of like a purposeful work, then I get involved in that work and provide my services in terms of user experience and user interface design, pretty much on the user experience side of things, because I would love to problem solve and do the whole design thinking, understanding who the audience is, how to bridge that gap between their audience and the company values that they hold. And so I like to be involved in that kind of work to give you that in a nutshell of what I do.
Okay, that's perfect. And I think a great question to start with is why do you find important right now for business owners, clients, entrepreneurs, invest time and effort into UX designers, like to hire someone like you? Like, why do you find it important today to have a UX designer?
I think a lot of people, if I may be really blunt when I give you the answer. I think it's because owners, they think that are designers themselves. They are art directors, and so they have an idea and vision in their head. There's no doubt about that. But I feel that they can only do so much in their company, right? They have this vision. They run operations, yet they can't necessarily do everything at once, right? And so where the user, if they want to, when they do pursue that route of UX, it just means that, hey, I have this. It just means for the UX designer to be like, hey, I can do and provide this kind of a problem solving for your, maybe it's a mobile app or a website application, right? I can definitely help you solve, or really problem define and then solve in terms of how might I provide these solutions or features to this website application, because of the way that you are running your operations, you're running, you have your vision business owner. And so it's like me kind of consolidating the owner's vision into more of a, how might we, I like to tell this to people, what Jared Spool, UX guy, great guy. I like to kind of use his words by saying, we do a great job. And this is what he says: if we do a great job, then how might we improve someone's life at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, that's where that conversation of improving lives happens, because now that I've introduced this to the business owners, and yet, yes, it somehow you have to drive business by having revenue and having customers, right? It's all about how might we improve someone's life. So it's where I want to start that conversation, so that the conversation is a lot more purposeful. Then it kind of deviates into, okay, I could see you, Jennifer, as you helping us out. Let's have a conversation to see where that leads to.
Look, I don't know a lot about UI or UX, but what I do know is it helps the user experience at the end of the day. And as you said, yeah, the purpose is to improve someone's life. And I find this very interesting because sometimes I go to websites, maybe to solve some, you know, stuff that I need to the daily life, daily problems, adult problems, And I find these websites, they're so confusing, especially when they are government related, you know, and it's very confusing to solve a specific problem. Like I needed to solve something about my passport a few days ago, and it was not very intuitive to go where I need to go, to find, look, I need to go here on this website, and that's it, problem solved.
Yeah.
No, I needed to go this first, then this, then go to the
Uh-huh.
next link, then go to this website. It was very confusing. And so, like, is this something that you find valuable like that a UX designer can solve to the end user?
Yeah, no, it's funny enough you bring that story up because something like that did happen to me, but not on a passport level, but
Hmm.
on a we have this kind of this ID program where basically you could fly domestically without like an actual passport, right? You could just use
Hmm.
your ID and then fly with that. And then I went through the same similar situation with the whole UX. I go, why do you have to make a user go through so much hoops just so that they can do this particular action, right? I like what my instructor from Art Center, when I had him for interaction design, which is basically UX UI design, you want in layman's terms, is how might we get to the fun? Where's the fun? The fun is the action, right? The fun is me trying to renew my freaking passport,
Yeah.
my freaking like my freaking ID, right? That's the fun of it. Why go through so many hoops? I get it because they want to validate your identity, but not to the point where, hey, all I want is that one stupid link to go and fill out this thing, right? It's all about, for the user experience, it's all about how might we make this kind of a seamless interaction, a seamless experience, so that there's no bottlenecks in the user experience. There's no kind of this roadblock of, okay, I just want to renew this thing. Why do I have to, in order for me to renew this thing, why do I now need to talk to a customer service,
Hmm.
right? I think even then, that's great feedback for whoever's designing this, right? If a user has to go through at some point during their user journey, right? And the reason why, I drew a
Yeah.
line, an invisible line with this graph, right, is because, like, to kind of give you this example, right? We all want to be here, which is the happy lane,
Hmm.
right? And then down below where my arm is, we don't want to be here, which is a sad negative. We always want to somehow be when it comes to UX, we want to be very happy and satisfied with the journey, right? And if there's any of the bad stuff, right? If at any point there's a breakdown of the user experience, that's when a UX designer of some sort will be like, okay, there's a lot of complaints here. How might we start to figure this out, right? Because if you can't figure this out, what happens? People will go to customer service. Customer service will be pissed off, will be angry, and operations can't be run now because customer service is now flustered, right? Can't run operations anymore. It just becomes this whole snowball effect of one thing leads to the other, that leads to other. So that's where the UX designer comes into play, as to how might we lessen all of this kind of baggage so that a user can have a good experience.
Yeah, you explain it beautifully because yeah, like we always find ourselves, and it's just a normal struggle, I think, for everybody. Like we can do things in an easier way, but we like to make it complex.
Yeah,
so,
right.
so like yeah, so like for me, it's amazing to see that we have all this knowledge, we have all these people who can provide a good service with UX, and we just don't do it. We just decide to not improve a website. We just decide to not make it more intuitive for the end user. So yeah, and I didn't talk at the beginning of this episode, but my podcast is it focuses on trying to improve communication overall. And so I think one type of communication is this, like, okay, how can we make this more intuitive for the person using this website? We communicate things so they can easily understand and solve what they're trying to need to solve, or, fix or find what they're trying to find, which sometimes you can even find what you're really trying, you know. So yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
go on.
No, I was gonna add. No, I was gonna add on. by saying that it all goes back to, like I said, with the vision, it all goes back to the visionary of the I was gonna say user, but it's not the user, it's the owner,
Mm,
of how they structured their company, how they structured maybe their business as well, right? Because I believe for any owner, there has to be a reason why they started their business. They like there's no doubt in my mind that they didn't come in and be like, oh, I want to, maybe it is, I don't know, but I believe most of the owners, they didn't come in and be like, hey, I want to earn a lot of money by creating this really random thing. I think there's a lot of business owners, and that's the sucky part about it too. They started with a story or purpose, right, of why they started, and
mm-hmm.
somehow if they get successful, let's say, right, that whole why gets lost. And the whole, oh, I'm going to help someone, that also gets lost in this thing. So that's why there's a lot of this conversation about, revolving brand a lot,
Mm,
because there seems to be this lost in conversation of why did you start your company in the first place? Why did what was the purpose of you starting this, so that you can start relating this to your customers or your clients or your users, right? And because of that, then that can start to translate into how might you begin to solve a particular problem within either your services or your app.
yeah, that's wonderful. And I think it's also a great hook for my next question, which is like, what is or are the misconceptions that you usually find as a UX designer while dealing with clients? Like, what are those?
Well, this is a loaded question. But some of the misconceptions is they get the definitions wrong. The
Mm,
UX and UI. So if I may, so UX is obviously user experience, right? And user experience is a singular interaction. It sort of ties into customer experience in a way, because customer experience, you see everything, you
mm,
explore everything, whereas user experience, as it says, it's a singular kind of a process. User interface is obviously you take that user experience and then you explore it with colors, typography, you kind of give it life, right? So a lot of people, they get the definitions wrong, first of all. So that's why whenever I go into kind of the meet and greets, I go, so what are you actually looking for? Because sometimes people get the definitions wrong, and that's fine. It's all about communication, and we're, being on the same page. The other one that I see is that I thought of was, and this kind of doesn't relate to what I do. It's more of in lines of people interpreting, like, let's say logo design, right? People are
mm,
interpreting as, hey, we just need this kind of this um uh like a logo mark or something, right? So that it runs our business. It runs our business, going to give us business, right? Same with the website. Oh, because we're going to have this web page now, we're going to get a lot of business. And the misconception about that is there's no thinking behind that. A lot of people, they think that, oh, because I have a website, I have a web presence now, which is
mm,
true. But if there's no thinking behind it, if there's no kind of a call to action of how might you direct the user to get to talk to you, let's say, then what's the purpose of the website that you put up to begin with? So a lot of people, they think that, oh, because like I said, I have a website and I'm done with it because it's gonna get me a lot of business. So if because there's no thinking about behind that.
mm. Okay, I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Uh, I think also like a good question would be, especially for you, it's because sometimes to understand this vision, it's also important to share, what you know, the knowledge you have. And I want to ask you, like, how was the process right now? Because you're active on LinkedIn. So how is the process of sharing your knowledge on LinkedIn? And what is the feedback that you see, like on the content that you're sharing right now?
So I guess the question is, I've been active on LinkedIn. So how's that process been like, right?
Yeah.
So far. Um, it's been great. It's been great. It's sharing my knowledge. So I think I told this to one of my connections when I was responding to her post, is that I have so much in my head that I don't know where to put all of this knowledge. I can only do so much by typing this out on a note-taking app. Like I have to share it with people. I think that if I don't share it with people, then knowledge is not circulated. And I've kind of gone up that whole, I mean, I've kind of gotten over the fact that, oh, I'm a secret to myself. I know if I share
Mm,
something and someone's going to steal it or something like that. I think, I know that there's going to be a possibility of that happening, but for me to share knowledge, I feel that people will start to gain a new perspective. And I always try to approach my content specifically, in that way where I have put my idea out, my perception of this particular concept. Um, I welcome any type of feedback. If it's a troll, then I ignore them. But if it's a constructive feedback, then I try to engage and understand why there is why they have thought of this particular thought that they have, right? Because it's probably due to the fact that this is what they know in their own experience. And it's important for me to not judge that particular individual and to kind of understand where they are coming from by asking them questions. So I've seen a couple of that already in my posts, and I love it when people challenge me. I feel that like this is gonna sound very, very, I don't know, very, I don't know how this is gonna feel, but I I feel like sometimes I am the I'm like evil person putting my thoughts out and trying to see what kind of reaction I get. Obviously, that's not my intention whatsoever, but it's a lack of better terms, because I really want to see what people are thinking, and if I could draw some sort of a reaction from people because of the way I talk, the way I present myself, then I feel like I've done my job as the content creator by, one, putting out this conversation out openly, and two, kind of creating this engaging conversation and me learning from this and maybe even applying it to my practice. So I find content creation, sharing my knowledge, this kind of this collaborative thing. I never find it as, oh, I'm the top whatever and you guys are, I feel it's this whole like collaborative thing. And especially
mm,
when LinkedIn gives that kind of that presence, it's so much easier for me to really embrace that, whatever that feeling is, whatever that presence and that they set up. I get to be my authentic, genuine self that way. I get to be real with people. So that's, yeah.
I like one thing that you said, which is everyone has a different perspective. And this is a concept that I always need to be reminded sometimes, because I understand that we all live in little bubbles, and sometimes it's hard to
Yeah.
poke your own bubble and get out of it, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, and I find like, I don't know, but did you ever try to go into Clubhouse? I don't know
Did
if
I
you.
ever try to, I'm familiar with it. I've only listened to conversations, but
Mm-hmm.
I've never spoken in a clubhouse, like a conversation before. Only
So,
because, yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
okay. Now, and I'm, bringing this up because Clubhouse is like it, even though it's not a popular platform right now, it has it, boost in the beginning, but it was a great platform to understand like more about people and their feedback, like more, how can I say it, with more depth, because during this conversation sometimes you throw these conversations, like you said before. With my content, I'm just sharing like initiating these conversations and getting the feedback, and being there, it really opened my eyes that like we all think about one thing differently every time. and that's when misconceptions are born. That's where constructive opinions are born and trolls are born also.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I find it, important that as a content creator, you try this conversation that allows you to get out of your bubble and meet these new perspectives. So yeah, that's great. And what do you want to say before?
No, I think it kind of lost. It kind of
Yeah.
trickled away as I as I was thinking about this, right? I think my last comment about this is that it's like, as a content creator, we have to be prepared for what's about to happen, because it's like as soon as you upload something, right? A senior person, as soon as you upload something, you don't know what the heck is going to happen within your content. You don't know if it's going to go viral or not. You just don't know. So it's best to prepare for what's about to happen and be present with the moment. I think that's what I've learned when one of my very first posts went off the roof, right? Was to really be present in the moment and not think about, oh, what the heck, how do I top this one now, so yeah.
I think a good question would also be like, why
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn instead of other platforms? I don't know if you're active on other platforms, but I see you
Yeah,
most
yeah,
active
yeah,
on LinkedIn. So
yeah.
why LinkedIn instead of the others? Like from a personal and professional perspective.
Oh, perfect. No, no, I'll go into the personal one first, was because in 2017, right, I actually wanted to explore Instagram.
Hmm.
The thing about that, during the time, I don't know if you were around there when Instagram was around 2017, there were a crap ton of bots. There were a crap ton of bots that would I don't know, interact, hey, follow me, and a lot of fake likes, right? And i
Hmm.
i knew that. I know it's changed now, but I knew that, right? And so around that time, for some reason I got back on LinkedIn. For who knows why, I was just starting my business and I was trying to figure out how to network. And before the whole posting game was sort of the thing on LinkedIn, I'd gone back to LinkedIn and I go, why is a lot of people like posting, like around mid 2017? Why is a lot of people posting about themselves now? Like it used to be this like job recruiting site, right? Was when
Hmm.
I started to kind of wanted to explore LinkedIn, because um even around that time too, like I had already posted a lot of videos like trying to gain my confidence from jump roping. From jump roping, like I shared videos on the private Facebook group, and that kind of boosted my confidence. And then I was like, man, I'm just such an open book, I don't know where to like share, right? And so
Hmm.
LinkedIn presented that opportunity. I believe like I followed maybe one or two posts that was really talking about themselves, and I'm like, man, I could totally see myself doing that. And and the possibility of telling people what I do for a living, right? Because it's a professional platform was what I was thinking of. And so that's where I started to move away from Instagram and started to explore LinkedIn, right? It was
Hmm.
obviously a kind of a up and down. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do on LinkedIn. And that kind of boils down to, I know I'm extending my answer a little bit. It kind of boils down to me knowing what I do, for a living, UX, UI design, embracing that, like truly embracing that, and start talking to people about it. Because what I found very, very interesting was going back to the whole jump rope thing and me uploading, right? Even outside of, at the time it was like outside of that Facebook group, people knew me as Jen loves jump rope. Okay. Jen loves jump rope. And I go, man, that's cool that people know me as the me as doing jump rope, right? But I really want people to know me as the UX UI designer. And
Mm,
what better way to show that, right, than to, well, first knowing where my audience is, which is LinkedIn, because there's a lot of business owners. I want to be able to work with business owners, agency owners, sometimes maybe in-house if they want to look for a freelance contractor. Like everyone's there on the platform. So I knew where my audience was on LinkedIn. And if I wanted to offload some of my content, then that's what Instagram is for at this very moment. So I kind of found that balance of hey, I know where my audience is. I'm definitely investing my time 100% on LinkedIn because of the meaningful conversation. Nothing's fake. I know that I won't get fake bots liking my posts and commenting. And I just leaned like I said and shared with you about the having this kind of a collaborative, engaging conversation. Like I want something like that. That's why LinkedIn has given me the opportunity to really like allow myself to be myself.
mm. Okay. Wow. What an answer.
I know, right?
Yeah, like this is actually is a great answer because I think it makes you reflect. Like I see a lot of people, trying to build a brand and communicate through a platform. And sometimes the platform is not the best fit for them because they don't feel so comfortable. And instead of feeling burnout or overwhelmed sometimes by the effort the platform asks you, to put
Mhm.
into, like you can decide, you can always decide, okay, maybe I will start with Instagram, not working, let's go with LinkedIn, it's working, I'm stay here. Or if I want to expand, go to another platform, test,
Yeah.
because I think it's right now, especially like there's a lot of happening in the world right now, like NFTs, metaverse, a lot of things are changing right now. And
Yeah.
so finding your spot to feel comfortable will allow you also to communicate better and, network and do all the stuff that's important for a business owner, a freelancer, and someone who's just building their brand on these
Yeah.
platforms.
Yeah. And I was, oh no, go
No,
ahead.
no,
I
go
was,
on.
yeah, I was gonna, no, I was gonna add because you did touch base on the branding aspect too, right? I feel that a lot of people, a lot of people, they think that, oh, I have to go everywhere to spread my whatever, which is fine. But I feel that because I used to do branding before doing the whole UX UI thing, I find that for brands, they have to, companies, right? I would say companies, they have to realize again where their audience is and do that marketing before wasting all your time and effort on all these platforms, right? I think it's okay to explore maybe one or two just so that you could um explore, you could get your hands dirty. But ultimately, what it comes down to is one, knowing where your audience is, and two, where that channel will best serve your audience, right? That's what I've come to learn within this. So we're in 2022 right now. So what I've come to learn within these 5 years as to, okay, I know I'm going to work with owners, right? Maybe they use Instagram. I don't know, maybe for personal preference. But ultimately, I know that LinkedIn, the way it is now, professional network, I know I'm going to definitely be in touch with owners. So what's my best bet? LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah, that's great thought. Yeah, like sometimes like I try, I don't think it's I am right word, but I try to be active every day on these platforms.
That's what
Yeah.
you do, Daniel.
That's what I do. That's my job. um,
Yep.
but yeah, like I see how it can be overwhelming for a lot of people and how it can be, not a good experience also because, like, to be realistic right now, if you really want to grow or have more reach, expand your audience reach on these platforms, you need to be present on all these platforms and post more than once a day on these platforms, which is a lot for some people, and people who don't have the necessary skills to, do the basic stuff or edit to make their life easier, it becomes very overwhelming. And so I get it, what you're saying, how it's important to know where your audience is, so you're not feeling overwhelmed by all the effort that you're putting into something that you can really see,
Mhm.
results right after, or you don't find worth it your time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, like, talking about your past or your journey until now, I think a great answer would be, oh, answer not question. Question. A
You're good.
great question would be, who is your mentor? Like, throughout your journey until now, who do you consider a mentor and why?
Who do I consider a mentor? God, there's a lot. There's a lot of mentor. The first person that comes to mind is my dear instructor, professor. Her name is Andrea,
Mhm.
and sometimes I would talk about her mainly because she kicked our butts. I don't want to curse, but she kicked our butts in school. And I think because she ingrained the design thinking process early on, that's why I feel that because she had ingrained this knowledge in me, then I'm able to apply these types of principles to me. So hands down, she's one of the few people where I look up to in terms of not only the for design, but as a person as well. I may have gotten the personality from her. I don't know because she speaks her mind, and I appreciate that from people is that they speak their mind and they don't hold back.
Mm,
Um, and as the designer, I feel that because it's like we have so much power in our hands because we're kind of that communicators and visual communicators. We help people kind of communicate their ideas to the public. That that's where I kind of gained that knowledge from. So her hands down 100%, it's like this kind of reciprocity. I help her, she helps me back. It's just so awesome. That's why I find her to be my kind of the number one inside and outside mentor, right? Sometimes I like to think of like books as mentors as well because you start to gain knowledge. Books themselves, they kind of teach you, right? Maybe like if I think you and I, we spoke up about Gary V at one
yeah.
point. Like, we could think of that as a mentor, right? Because I've read, like, I believe I read his first two books. I can't remember what the names are. I remember one of them was Crush It, and the other one I completely forgot. Jab Jab Right Hook.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So I think of that as like, him telling me, right? Because kind of a little backstory. Like I don't like reading books. I like to listen to what the author is actually saying when they are reading the actual content. It's like it's as if they're talking to me, and I'm at that point, that moment, I'm starting to kind of visualize what this author is trying to say within their content. And so that's how I feel, it's like they are in some way, shape, or form my mentor that way. So
You said something, that made me reflect, especially, related to Gary Vee, because I
yeah.
think mentors, they become relevant for us in our journey when they come at the right timing.
Yeah.
And I believe, like, I consider Gary Vaynerchuk a mentor because he came at the right timing where I was, you know, filled with a lot of negativity,
Mm-hmm.
and he just
Mm-hmm.
came with a lot of punches of positivity in my face. you know
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I think, like, it's important, you know to read, like, even you talk about books, but mentors and books also, like, mentors, you can choose, like, we're digital, so you can choose who you follow and who you consume content. And so, like, it's important, like, to decide what is practical for you right now. And maybe you wanted to read a book, but sometimes it's not the right timing for you, and so you
Yeah.
read the other book instead, who will no that will fit your better, like, fit your journey better right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, for me, I think, like, personally, mentors and books also or become more relevant and significant for our journey when they come at the right timing. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that, and when it comes to mentoring too, you have to apply it, right? You have to apply what you've learned from the mentor, whether or not they're in the book form or they are in person, right? You have to be able to apply what you've learned, what they're teaching you at that moment. Because if you don't apply the principles, right, then how else are you going to learn from doing that
Mhm.
action? So there's a lot of practicing by doing, not by reading something passively or listening to something passively. You have to put the work, you have to put the action into your work by doing.
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, that's great because sometimes we find in this loop of, oh, I just finished this book. Maybe I need to learn more, so I'll go to the next book, the next book, and the next book,
Yeah,
and I didn't do, nothing. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
part.
yeah, yeah.
That's part of the process also. So yeah,
It is. It is. It is.
and I think to end, it would be also a good question. Uh, what is that advice or something you would like to share to people who are getting into UX right now?
Oh my God, there's a lot, but I will list out maybe my top three. The first one is to learn the fundamentals of design. Learning the fundamentals is very, very important when it comes to learning the basics. How do you lay out something, right? And then you go into the thinking behind, like, let's say, problem solving, um, and then comes the explanation part. How do you explain your work by articulating your thoughts out? A lot of designers that I've seen so far, and some of them have approached me, right, and I have to turn them down because I am just so busy. I don't have time to review the work, unfortunately. But a piece of advice I usually give is, hey, your body of work is great, right, but I really want you to put yourself into this design. And what I mean by that is, how did you start this design? What was your role in this? What's your responsibility behind this project, right? Because if you cannot explain that to, let's say, an employer, if you're trying to get work, then how are you going to work in a team, right? How are you going to communicate your ideas to the team if you want to do all the problem solving, right? And so that's where I always share, depending on what they come to me for. That's I usually share those three kind of the tips: is to know the fundamentals, know how to do the design thinking, and that's going to take time, and to really nail down how you communicate your thoughts to people, because that's really, really important. By involving yourself, what's your responsibilities, what's your role in the job that you were involved in,
That
and
was
know
wonderful.
yourself. Own yourself too. Own yourself. Like, what I mean by that too is embrace who you are, embrace um the journey, embrace the learnings that, hey, I'm going to become a designer. I'm going to it's going to suck in the beginning, but I'm going to move along the journey. Sorry to cut
It's
you off.
no worries. I think it was great what you said, because even though, like, I have a few hobbies, one of them is learning to developer, becoming a developer, trying to become one also.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
a lot of what you said, it actually also applies. It's something that they always try to, they advise to young developers trying to get into the industry right now. And so they said the same thing that you said, just differently, but it's the same lesson. So I think it's valuable because sometimes we don't focus on the fundamentals that are really important because they're building the foundation for you, and the thing that you're on yourself, speaking and improve your communication. It's very important, and also the collaboration,
Mm-hmm.
with people,
Yeah.
which is something that I personally struggle a lot, because every time I tried to start a project, didn't end well because, I knew that I could handle the content creation part, and managing the brand, but the other things didn't work out because sometimes people didn't want to be so involved in the project sometimes. So yeah, like it's important like to have a good communication, because at the end of the day, instead of having more burnouts, at some point I said, okay guys, are we really gonna do this like for a long period of time? We're gonna invest money in it and stuff like that, or we're just gonna drop this because right now it's not the right timing for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a wonderful advice.
Yeah. No, and then I mean, to add that on too, it's also knowing the because you did hit on the communication part of it and the scope a little bit, right? For the designer to understand what the scope is, what the goal of the project is, what your role is, responsibilities are. And if you don't know any of that, then how are you going to perform in the project, right? How are you going to involve, how are you going to be involved on the project if you don't know what to do? So I think that's really important. It's kind of what I touched based on in another post, which is kind of not related to jobs and responsibilities, right? But it kind of goes back to that whole topic of, hey, if I'm going to get hired, as the whatever designer title that I am, I have to know what I'm going to be involved in terms of role, in terms of maybe projects, if you could share that with me, and the responsibilities. And if you can't outline that in the job description, then I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that was great. So thank you, Jennifer, for being here today. It was a wonderful conversation. I've learned a lot, and I hope people who are listening or watching this learn a lot too. I will leave every platform that you're active on the description of the video, and also in the description on the podcast format audio for those who are interested. And follow Jen, because I've been following her content for a period of time, and I like some of the stuff she talked, and I can see it, how it affects someone. And as I'm a very curious person trying to learn how is the best way to communicate with people, it's very important also to expand and poke my bubble, get out of it, and learn more about this part, because it's very interesting, and even for people who want to learn it. So yeah, so thank you for being here today. Thank you for your time, and bye.